Joe with Black Box Silver and Bronze, and this is my incredible haul from the Gallitin Comic Con on Veterans Day. Let's check them out. Hey, comic addicts. On Saturday, Veterans Day, I drove out to Gallatin, Tennessee. They were holding the Comic Con this year. And so I went there. I got some amazing pickups. It's about 2 hours and 20 minutes from my house. And drove out there in the morning, arrived just after it opened, and did my shopping, hopped in the car, came home. On the way home, I go through this town called Lebanon, Tennessee. And I usually, if I go out to Gallatin, I usually stop in Lebanon. There's this antique store that's got a bunch of comics in it. So here are the comics that I got at this comic place, comic booth in Lebanon at the antique store. And these all worked out to be about $3 a piece. Some were like $1, some were $2.95, some were $3.95. But on average, it all worked out to be about $3 a piece. It's a Charlton horror suspense haul. So here's Ghostly Haunts, number 56 from January 1978. And they're all in decent condition. And I got this one. I love the cover on this one. This is Haunted, number 34 from February 78. Great cover. Here's Haunted 55 from May of 81. Great sea monster cover. And here's Haunted number 71 from January of 84. And I had a couple issues of Scary Tales. Here's Scary Tales number 28 from 1981. And I think this is a Steve Ditko cover. I'm not 100% on that, but the story about what's on the cover is a Steve Ditko story. And this guy looks a little bit like his Doctor Strange, or a lot like his Doctor Strange. Right? Don't you agree? And then I got Scary Tales number 29. What's cool about this one is it is a book-length story by Tom Sutton, and it's got some just great art in here. I paged through it, and I'm looking forward to sitting down and reading that. So that was my haul on the way home. And I always like to add those Charlton horror ones to my collection, trying to fill those runs out. And I used to be able to find them all the time in dollar bins, $1 and $2, and they've been going up in prices over the years. They had a lot of others there that I already had, and some that I didn't have, but they were like $12, $14, and I won't pay that for those. So let's get to the Comic Con. All right, the first thing that happened at the Comic Con when I arrived in the parking lot, there was a mystery machine. So that was really cool. And at this Comic Con, it was put on by Chris and Tammy, who own this store called Town Square Records and Comics in Gallatin, that I stumbled upon one time, and I really love it. I've been back there 3 or 4 times. He's one of the nicest guys I've ever met. And every time I go there, I remind him, hey, I'm Joe from Chattanooga. And he's like, we got to take care of you. You've gone a long distance. And he gives me great deals on the comics. So anyway, he put the comic show on. And I remember when I bought the ticket from him about 2 months ago, he was telling me that they were going to have the Dukes of Hazzard there for signing things. And so they were there. And out front was the General Lee also. So I got a picture of that. That was really cool. And I went in, and I guess maybe the signings started about an hour after I got there. So at first it was kind of easy to move around, but then these big lines started forming, and they just wrapped all around. So you know how that is. If you've been to a Comic Con, the lines for signings, gets in the way of the mobility. But before that happened, The very first booth I went to was a small booth. It's called Great Escape Comics, and they have like 5 or 6 stores in both Tennessee and Kentucky. They told me there's like around Nashville, Murfreesboro. There's one up in Bowling Green. They had some nice stuff, and they had like a half booth. It was a small little cubby, but had some nice wall books that I was checking out. And I dug through the box, and I found this one comic, and um, it was the very first booth I went to, and I just wanted to kind of scope the whole thing out and then start spending money. But I walked away, and then I didn't get too far away, and I turned around, I walked back and got this. This is World's Finest Comics number 67. I made a good deal on this one, and I I saw this, and at first I was paging through, and I had to do a double take. I went back, and I realized that at first I thought it was Superman was holding up like a um, hotel or something, and then I did a double take, and it's a train crash. And so I love this. It's like I love train covers, and this one is so cool. I have never seen one like this where there's a terrible train crash. Superman's lifting the trains off, and Batman and Robin are tending to the wounded. Great cover. World's Finest Comics from December of 1953, issue number 67. So I forgot to mention, I did have 2 specific comics that I was looking for when I went to this con, and I always try to go with like specific ones I'm looking for. And the 2 that I was looking for was Star Spangled Comics 65, which is the yellow cover with Robin on it. It's his first solo appearance, and I've bought 2 issues of that. And both issues, when they said they were complete, and when they arrived, the first one had like a coupon cutout that affected the story, and the second one had a centerfold missing. So I sent those both back for a refund. And I've been looking for that comic. And the other one I was looking for was Sabrina the Teenage Witch #1. And at the booth right next to me, there was a Sabrina the Teenage Witch #1. So I went over and checked it out. I couldn't believe it was right on the wall, but the price was too high for the condition it was in, and I offered some lower money, but it was at the beginning of the con, and he wouldn't come down, so I left that behind. But as I'm walking around, I found this artist named Sam Payne. Was talking to him. He had a small table set up where he was selling his work, posters and comics and stuff. And I picked this up. This is called Vector Girls, and it's the pinup art of Sam Payne. And he had an autograph down here, and it's made to look kind of like a Archie book. And it just got this great nurse cover on it. And I thought it was a comic book when I bought it, but when I got home and looked through it, every page is like a pinup like this. It's all his pinup art. And I really like his style. To me, it's very evocative of either Bruce Timm or Darwin Cook, or maybe kind of a combination of both. But I thought that was really cool. And he was a really nice guy. I really enjoyed talking to him. So I kept walking. I went around the corner, and this guy had at his booth, he had some wall books, nothing on there that I was really interested in, but he had about 20 or 30 long boxes, and all the comics were $3 each or 4 for 10. So immediately I found this one, Star Wars Vader's Quest. And this is one of the Dark Horse Star Wars stories, which I really enjoy these Dark Horse stories. But I thought this was just a really cool cover. I like the covers on the Dark Horse Star Wars. So I found this one, and I was digging through them. Like, I got to find more of these Vader's Quest and put it together with this deal. And there were no more issues. So I just have that one issue. But I did find Star Wars Splinter of the Mind's Eye by Dark Horse. And I remember reading this as a novel. This was a novel that came out around the time of the Star Wars movies when I was a kid. And I read it, and it was really good. And it's a 4-issue series, and they had issue #1, 2, and 3. So I wasn't able to pick up the whole run of that either, but for the price and everything, it was good. And then they had Star Wars: A New Hope. So this is telling, the first Star Wars movie that came out, and it's 1 of 4. So it was a little disappointing that I couldn't put those series together, but what are you going to do? So then in the back corner was these 2 older gentlemen that had a small booth together. And I started digging through their stuff, and I was looking through this one box, and there was a lot of Bronze Age Marvel horror in it and some other stuff, but a lot of that. And the guy said, I was just looking, and then he didn't have any prices on it. And he says, you pick anything out of there, I'm going to give you a good deal. So I looked through and I pulled out all the ones that I didn't have. There were a lot that I did have, but I found Crypt of Shadows number 16 with this great cover here. This is from 1974, and it's reprints. It reprints Uncanny Tales 6, Stories from Strange Tales 5, and I think Mystical Tales number 11 are the stories that are reprinted in here. So I got this one, and then I got this one, which I could not believe. This was Chamber of Darkness number 1 from 1969. It's the first issue. It's in really nice shape, and it was in a My Comic Shop bag, and it said it was like a VG plus. And I went on their shop to look at like what it's going for nowadays, and it was like $50-$60 for this issue. I'll tell you what I paid for it in a second. Then I also got Weird Wonder Tales, and this is in really good shape too. Number 4 from 1974, and that's a Jack Kirby cover that was like modified by John Romita. This is also reprints. Tales to Astonish number 1, I think, is the cover from that, and Stories, and Tales of Suspense 28, and Uncanny Tales 44. So these were the 3 that I found in his box, and I handed to him, and I was like, well, so what's the price? He says, what do you want to pay for? I said, how about $3 a piece? He's like, deal. So that was a really good deal. And then his buddy had a whole bunch of T-Man, which is my favorite comic, Golden Age comic of all time. And so I looked through all of them, and then he's like, I got one up on the wall. And unfortunately, I had all of them except for this one. This is number 26 from January of 1955. The condition is unbelievable. This thing looks like almost like it was just pulled right off of the newsstand. It's so nice. It's solid. You know how when you page through a brand new comic, it feels really tight and everything. That's how it is. The colors are really vibrant. The artwork's fantastic. Really happy to have this one, and it has a anti-communism cover, which I really like as well. So that's T-Man number 26. I got that for $25. All right, now the last 2 places I went to a whole bunch of other places, dealers. I didn't buy stuff at the other ones, but the last 2 that I bought stuff from, the first is a guy named Daniel Camp. Super nice guy. He doesn't have a store or an online presence. He likes to just, sell at the cons and everything. And so I was looking around, and he had some nice stuff on the wall. I actually got something off of his wall, and I bought that. And then I said, do you have any more Golden Age? He said, no, because he had boxes. He said, all the Golden Age is up here on the wall. I started leaving. He said, hang on. He said, you might want to look through this box. He says, there's a lot of Golden Age in there, but it's promo comics. And I said, what? Promo comics? And I went right to it and I dug through it, and it was the jackpot. I mean, I have seen stuff in there that I didn't even know existed, and he had great prices on them. So the first one I found was this one. It's by Evan Rude Motors, and it's water skiing from 1959. They're trying to sell the motors, but they're talking all about water skiing and how you do it. It's a new sport that's becoming very popular. And they tell you about like hand signals to use when you're in the water, the do's and don'ts of driving. And then on the back, they've got a ski selection chart. So unfortunately, somebody drew with pencil in all these letters. I guess it might be able to be erased, but usually this is all newsprint, so it doesn't have a glossy cover. And usually, if you try to erase that, it doesn't work as well. The next one I got was Ricky and Debbie in Sardine Land, and it's Maine sardines. This is, I think it's from 1967. That's what it says here. And there's a second copy. I don't know the year of the second one because on the Grand Comic database, it has a different picture than this. And it says 1967. But I don't think that, if this one's from 1967 with this car, here's the other image. It's basically the same thing modernized. And so this was really cool. And it talks about the sardine industry. So two really killer promo comics. Then another one I had never seen before. This is the Mako Toys full color comics. And this was from 1959. And it was published by Charlton. And it's all about like military toys. And there's stories in here, but they also have like the different toys that you could buy, like the U.S. Invader set for $8, or the international, talks about international Morse code. There's a GI Field kit. There's a UN Peacekeeper kit. This thing is so cool, and it's something I had never seen before, and really happy. There's a mess sergeant kit in here. All really cool catalog of toys. I got a Christmas giveaway promo comic from a department store that my mother used to go to where we grew up, called Grant's. So this is from W.T. Grant. It's Tilly and Ted in Tinker Tot Land. And this is from 1945, so from the war years. And it's got this really cool Santa Claus cover where he's passing through the moon with his reindeer. It's very colorful. There's something about dolls on the back cover. Inside, the front and back cover talk about the toy department and Grants. And then it's got a story, a Christmas story about Tilly and Ted. And here's more information about Grants. That was a store I used to go to. So this guy just had some great stuff in it. Now, this next one blew my mind because I never heard of this one. I don't know. I've never seen it. I don't know what the scarcity is on this. It might not be too scarce, but it is super cool, and you'll see why when I show it to you. This is Magazine Land from 1977 from World Color Press Day. And so this comic book is about a printing company who printed comics since the Golden Age. And what's super cool about this is look at the cover. You've got Marvel, DC, Casper, Archie. Who else is on there? You got Howard the Duck. So it's across all different comics, right? It's Harvey Comics, it's DC, it's Marvel, it's Jughead, Archie. And so it tells the story of, here's the is guy showing all the comics there that they've printed over the years. And, it's got some actual black and white photos in the middle. You could see a Fun Comics there, right? And throughout, you actually see like different superheroes. Here's Spider-Man, and Clark Kent is in there, and Batman and Robin, and there's Superman as Clark Kent. Really cool. So I was really stoked to get that one, something I'd never seen before. And another one I'd never seen before, which is really cool. It's The Adventures of Manuel Pacifico, Tuna Fisherman. Come on, this thing is amazing. And this is from 1950. And this was by Breast of Chicken Tuna Company. And so talking about how great their tuna is, and how they get it. There's a section here with like Manuel Pacifico you can cut out like with the dolls. There's a tuna boat there. And here he is, diving into the water there. But I want to show you this one picture of them fishing. And tell me if you think, let me see if I could find, oh, here it is. Check out that guy's rod. So turns out there's two issues. This is issue number 1, and there's another issue as well. So that was really cool. And then I got a pretty big item from this guy. This is a comic book that I have been looking for a while. And on eBay, the prices are exorbitant. So I was really lucky. I saw this, and I blew most of my money on this one that I brought with me. And it's slabbed, and the slab is scuffed up. But other than that, this is Blood is the Harvest. And this is from the Catechetical Guild, and it's from 1950. And it is an anti-communism pamphlet that the Catechetical Guild put out. And it's pretty rare. On my comic shop and Grand Comics database, it says there's only 21 in existence. Well, there's at least double that, because I checked out the census and I think there's 38 or 39 slabbed. So there's more than they originally thought. But on the back, it tells you the price of liberty, and it talks about like why communism is bad. And what's really interesting is like some of the things. This is 1950. Talks about communists have always recognized the importance of education to the state. Vladimir Lenin once bluntly declared, "Give us a child for 8 years and he'll be a Bolshevik forever." The US is not communist, but that does not stop party teachers from trying to put Lenin's words into action. It is their mission to develop young Americans who will be dissatisfied with their own way of life while regarding the Soviet system as the world's ideal. Blood is the Harvest tells the net result of this kind of education. This undermining of our American school system has gone too far already, but it's up to you to stop it in its tracks. Know your children's instructors, examine their textbooks. We must be on our guard. So I love my anti-communist stuff, and I'm really happy to have this one, which is pretty tough to find. And then the last seller I went to, I first met him in the Lexington Comic Con. It's Buzzer Brothers Comics. He's from Knoxville, Tennessee. And this guy always has great stuff and great golden age stuff. And I was talking to him. He had a nice wall. His stuff is like top of the line, very expensive. And I was talking to him. I said, "Do you have any more golden age? Because last time when I saw you in Lexington, you had all these boxes of golden age with like less pricey stuff." And he says, "Well, I only have a couple of boxes. I didn't bring as much." And he explained to me that he brings different stuff to different cons depending upon what he thinks is going to sell. So he went to that collector summit and he brought all of his, big time golden age books. And he said for this one, because they had the Dukes of Hazzard, he knew a lot of the money would be going to them instead of comics. So he kind of took a different approach. But anyway, he did have a couple of boxes of great stuff. And I wound up taking 3 home from him. And I have one comic that I'm doing payment plans on him, which will be revealed in the future. It's killer. But here's the three that I got from him this weekend. The first is Junior Hop Comics, issue number 2. This is by Stanmore Publications, and it's from 1952. And it's basically their version of Archie. And I had never seen this before, so it immediately called to me. And there was 3 issues in the series. This is the middle issue. But look, even this guy looks like a little bit Archie-esque there, like a chubby Archie there. But basically teen capers. So that was the first one. And then the second one I got was Commander Battle and the Atomic Sub #1. And this is the True Vision, the 3D that you don't need glasses for, where all the panels inside are black borders. And then in the comics, they have like subdued colors in the background, but like look at this guy up here, right? And then they kind of brighter colors, they're sticking out of the page. And I wanted to show you in here a couple of panels that I think are really cool. They're diving down underneath the ocean, and they kind of see something that's kind of like Godzilla. It's this big red dinosaur, and look how he's popping out of the panels there. And so that's the ending panel of like part 2 of this story. And then here's how the last part of it starts. It's got like a splash page with this Godzilla type creature. And there was one more splash page I wanted to show you. This is so cool. Well, this is cool too. Look at the submarine there. I love these comics are some of my favorite. I'm trying to get all of them. I think there's about 17 or 18, and I need one more. And it's a romance one. But look at this explosion. Is that killer or what? So I was really happy to get this one. And then my final comic was a pretty big purchase from him, but he always gives me good deals. And this is Exciting Comics #45. It's from March of 1946. It's got an Alex Schomburg cover with this amazing robot battle there. It's so cool. The colors are great. The yellows and the reds, the greens, all those primary colors, the blues. And the comic's in really pretty good shape. It's got some chipping, right? You can see that down here. But other than that, it's solid. It feels like it's fully attached. It's just, other than that chipping and a little bit of kind of, dirt up here, this thing is sweet. And it's really cool. I think it's my first issue of Exciting Comics, my first issue of Black Terror. I love these Alex Schomburg covers, and I try to get into some of them that are like the real key ones are so expensive. They're so far out of reach, but you still can find some really cool ones that are affordable. So that's what I bought from him, and he and I have a deal going for one more, which I will reveal to you in the future when it arrives. So that was my amazing comic haul from the Gallatin Comic Con. I hope you liked it, comic addicts, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.